So I'm here to talk to you today about building science. And this is my very simple house that I've drawn here. It's a colonial, so we have 2 floors of living space and an unfinished basement down below. So let's talk a little bit about what happens inside this house in regards to energy and heat loss. So down in the basement, we have a heating system. You may have a boiler, you may have a furnace, you may have a giant wood stove, and we have a hot water heater. Both of these units are meant to do certain things specifically. Your hot water heater obviously is making your hot water for your use in your home. Your heating system may be heating water and maybe heating air for the purpose of heating your home. But both of them are going to lose a little bit of their heat to that cold basement. So here they go. They're losing their heat. So hot air wants to rise in this cool basement, and when it does, it's going to find holes that have been cut to run plumbing, electrical, cable, heat ducting, heat piping, and all those holes lead into your wall cavities because those services come out of jacks and plugs in your walls and the living space of your house. So we have that hot air and it's traveling. It ends up inside the wall cavities of your house. Now once it's inside a wall cavity on a primary living space floor, now we are actively paying to heat the air on this floor of our house. And here's another little piece of physics that you may or may not know. Hot moves to cold. So, I don't know about you, but in the winter I don't want to go and lean up against the wall in my 1875 home because it's really chilly. So, the warm air in the room is attracted to the wallboard and the heat gets conducted through the wallboard to that cooler air that's on the other side of the wallboard. And when that happens, what do you think goes next? Well, that hot air, it wants to continue to rise. Now, it's on the second floor of living space for the home. Typically an even warmer floor than the one down below. And again, hot moves to cold, and so that hot air is going to be attracted to the cold wallboard. It's going to transfer its heat, and then eventually that air is going to leave. Now on the second floor we have additional issues in a house because we might have ceiling light fixtures, we might have a bathroom fan for the purpose of removing moist air, we might have fixtures that have ceiling fans attached to them. And every single place where we have an electrical item coming through the ceiling, we have on the top of that an electrical junction box. And these are also opportunities for the warm air that's inside that room to leave. So basically, the hot air on the second floor of your house looks for any crack or crevice that it can to get out, and eventually it comes out of the attic floor. Here we have a special situation with a chimney. And back in the day, if you have an older house, which I do, back in the day, they used to leave space to either side of the chimney and then just flash right up to the edge of the chimney up by the roof to keep rain from coming in. They left this space because they didn't want to burn a house down from the chimney getting extremely hot. But at that point in history, houses would typically have 2, 3, 4, even 5 fireplaces that were all feeding their heat into one chimney. At this point in time, we pretty much tend to have maybe 1 fireplace, and we have the ducts for getting the flue gases away from our heating system and our hot water boiler, and they go up the chimney. So our chimneys don't get anywhere near as hot as they used to, yet we have this open space right here, all the way up to the attic floor, which is a really easy way for heat to leave the basement, to get attracted through the wall cavities, and to eventually leave the house. Now, you might not think that this heat that is leaving is actually that big of a deal, but you would be surprised to know that it can account for up to 30% of the heat loss in a home. Window salesmen like to tell you that they will save you 30% if you put in your new windows. Really, they use 2 special words so that they're not telling a fib. Up to 30% they can save you on your heating bills. In reality, that is a very, very uncommon number for them to reach. You would have to have an awful lot of window to wall ratio, lots of windows and not very much wall, and for the windows that you have to also be extremely poor quality. And in return for that, you would spend an awful lot of money trying to replace all those windows. Windows tend to have a simple payback from energy savings of somewhere between 35 and 99 years. So when you have that long of a payback, you might be wondering if there's something else that you need to do into your house instead of the windows. And I would say the answer to that is yes. Because the bigger problem than this heat that we see leaving, now that we've drawn it on our picture, is that when we add some features to our house, like windows and doors and basement windows, what we find when this hot air leaves is that our house takes on a negative air pressure. And that negative air pressure actually allows the house to actively suck cold replacement air in from the outside anywhere that it can get it. So the air that you feel coming in around windows and doors in your house and around the sill plate or the foundation wall or cracks in the stone foundation, this air is being pulled. It's not that the air from the outside is pushing its way in so much as your house is actually sucking it inside. And the reason that's happening is because of the heat loss that's happening through your attic, that vertical heat loss. If you've ever been at home all by yourself and heard a door slam on the second floor and thought, do we have a ghost? Well, maybe, but it's actually more likely that you have a negative air pressure in your house that's helping that door slam, much to your surprise when it happens and you're home all alone. So now we have this cold air that's coming in around the windows and the doors, but we also have a solution because we know what the problem is and we know what we need to fix. We need to stop this air that's moving up from the basement from getting into the wall cavities and attracting more hot air from our rooms, warming up and rising out, and the hot air that's leaving the second floor of our house. We need to stop that air from moving. Now you might say, and this is true, that a house needs to breathe. It absolutely does. Houses do need to breathe. However, most houses in New England, we have a lot of old housing stock, are sort of hyperventilating, and that is not a condition that we want to keep going. So there's a solution that we can take advantage of instead called air sealing. Now air sealing uses expandable spray foam to fill in the holes and the chases that air is using to rise through the house and facilitate this negative air pressure through heat loss. So if we come in and we go into the basement and we fill in the places that the air is using to rise through the house, and we go into the attic and we fill in the places that the air is leaving the house, we've kind of put a cap on that negative and positive air pressure situation from the top and the bottom. And in doing so, ultimately, we end up reducing the amount of chilly air that gets sucked into our home around our windows and our doors because we've taken care of the root cause of the problem. A house that breathes too much is really the root cause of a lot of the discomfort and the draftiness that you feel. You may think it's your windows, but your windows are actually being forced to do a worse job because of this negative air pressure.
So now we know that the root cause of draftiness is actually this vertical heat loss problem that we have in our home, and it has to do with airflow issues inside the structure of your home. So the next step would be to air seal, and we want to air seal in the attic and in the basement to stop that flow of air from being so strong and creating the negative air pressure that drives the drafty feeling inside our homes.